What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Real Review. I'm your host, Warbucks, and we're here today to talk about Final Destination, the new Final Destination that just came out in 2025. Um, I've been a big fan of this whole saga of Final Destination ever since the first episode. I believe I saw the first one in theaters way back in the day. I gotta say the first one is probably one of the best ones. The Final Destination saga is a saga that was very unique and creative in the horror genre. We hadn't really seen a movie like that before where people escape death and it kind of chased after each person that was supposed to die and the unique ways of killing them. I don't, I, I'm 37, so in my time, I don't ever remember hearing of anything like this existing before Final Destination. I'm pretty sure there was similar things, but man, not quite like this. I don't think so. Um, I think at that time with where we were digitally and everything, they did a really good job creating this story about these regular everyday characters. I believe these guys were like college students and they got on a plane. And the beginning of the movie, you see them getting on a plane and they're going off to another country to celebrate graduating from high school, and then you see the plane crash and you see all the people on the plane die, and then you go back and you realize it's a premonition, and you see a guy freaking out immediately in the middle of the airport because everything that he's seeing, it happens exactly the way he saw it in the premonition. And he freaks out to the point where everybody can't get on the plane, and then you see the plane crash, and then for the rest of the movie, the characters are now dying in the order that they died on the plane. And that was why at the beginning they showed you the people dying and the order they die in, so you can understand how they die. I thought this was a very creative horror plot and story. I think all the characters in this movie did a good job acting. And it was just a really, really good time, really good thing to see growing up. This is part of my generation. If y'all know, we grew up with Final Destination. I think Final Destination 2 had the highway scene, and a lot of people to this day are afraid to ride behind certain trucks that have certain things that can fall off the back of them because of that highway scene. You know what I'm saying? So there are a lot of unique and crazy ways of people dying in these Final Destination movies. And a lot of these Final Destination movies and these deaths are probably based on real life deaths. If you've ever seen the show 1,000 Ways to Die, you see a lot of people die in some very creative ways. I'm pretty sure a lot of these deaths are based on certain deaths, or that are deaths that are kind of crazy and unique ways of dying that kind of feels like death, like people escaped death and it caught up to them. And so it's pretty cool. And so Final Destination has been around a long time. They've created a whole new unique ways. When this one came up, I was wondering, like, they've done so many of these. What can they do that can be so different in this one that we've never seen before? And so the title was called Bloodlines. So Final Destination Bloodlines. So in my head, I'm thinking, are these people related to the people in the first movie? I didn't fully really understand. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, is there some type of connection to the first movie? Is there some relatives or something? I didn't really get it. But no, that is not what's happening in this movie. And so we're going to go ahead and break this thing down and get into it now that we done got through the history. So let's start off like this. So the movie starts off with a girl, a young girl, um, who is probably, just currently transitioning into her womanhood. You know what I'm saying? She's probably like a teen, becoming an adult. Her and a guy, and they're riding up an elevator up into this old school tower building that's built with glass. You can see it. Now I'll admit, digitally, it looks a little kind of CGI-ish, when you see it from the outside, but once you get inside, it looks very, very realistic. I'm not exactly sure where they shot this at or what was really, was this built on a set, but it looks very, very real when they get inside it once they go up. But from the moment you see it, you kind of can tell that the main girl that we're watching in this, which, by the way, this actress, I believe she also played Stargirl in the DCU TV show Stargirl, which I used to watch, by the way. The first couple seasons were great. But anyway, highly recommend that show. So she's the main person we see in this movie, and she looks very nervous going up this elevator into this glass thing. Now, if you've seen Final Destination, you automatically is seeing all types of ways people can die just looking at this whole thing that she's going up in. Because I know I was like, oh, these motherfuckers finna die. Like, it's finna be death, 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 death. Like, what the heck? Who builds a tower and makes the part you stand on glass? I mean, even in that time period, it doesn't really make sense. You would have to go back further than that for people to be that stupid to think that you could step on some type of glass like that and don't have no type of capacity or anything. Man, come on now. How far back is this? You know what I'm saying? Dang. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe this is back in the time when we wasn't aware that when you step on glass, it breaks and you can fall through it. I don't know. But either way, caveman, times or something. I don't know. Be glass break. I don't know. But anyway, so they go up the elevator all the way to the top of this tower, and everything you see in this scene, you catch little glimpses of things that tell you something bad is about to happen. This is a classic form in every Final Destination movie. It's happened since the first movie. You have your main character that's seeing all these different things, and it's something about this character that they're kind of just they have this foresight where they're showing you all these different things that could happen based on what you're seeing. A little screw loosens here, or a little glass cracks here from somebody stepping on it and partying and dancing. All this is happening while she's up in this top tower in the air. And so, you know what I'm saying? You got a kid up here with his family. He's a African-American child with an African-American family running around. And you got this couple, this young girl and this young man, and they're here together, and it's just supposed to be kind of like a little romantic moment between them as he takes her up there. And it's actually really, really sweet when you see this, because it kind of goes from kind of a little bit of fear and terror from him telling her, hey, I got you. Everything's going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? Makes her feel a little bit at ease. He's checking in on her. And, he takes her outside to the thing, and she's nervous, but he gets down on his knees, and I believe he proposes to her right here on top of this tower. I thought this was really, really sweet, really romantic. I mean, you could take your girl, ladies, you could take your man and go see this movie and hold hands and have a little romantic connection, maybe kiss at this scene where you see he gets down on his knees and he proposes to her. And so it's a very, very great shot, great scene. You get some great outside angles of this building, but like I said, it does kind of look a little CGI, a little bit just a slight bit shiny and cartoonish, just a slight bit, just a tiny slight bit. But anyway, so the party is just getting litter on the inside. People are jumping up and down. They got live music, live band in there playing. Everybody's going crazy. They're having a good time. And as they're jumping up and down, you're seeing more cracks in the glass of this building. And I believe there's a final straw where you just see all the people just fall out and just fall down, and it breaks, and all these people are falling down. And so her husband not her husband, but her fiance, now that she is being proposed to, and I believe she says yes. She definitely says yes, and he falls first. She's kind of holding on, like they drop down and catch something, and I think she kind of saves this little boy. She grabs him and saves him, this little black kid, this little African-American child. She grabs him And, I can't remember exactly who dropped first because that's very important because, whoever drops first, you know what I'm saying? That's it. There's no coming back. I'm sorry. But so eventually they both fall. And then a girl wakes up. Now, the girl that wakes up is not the same girl that the girl that has this premonition is not the same girl that you see in the premonition. And so we're getting kind of towards the point of why this is called Bloodlines. So she wakes up in cold sweats, I believe, in her dorm room. Um, this movie does tend to focus and kind of sets its audience towards younger adults, particularly probably high school, college students. This movie is kind of centered for them. This is their type of horror movie, and they do tend to love horror movies. So it's kind of the perfect. It's like, who's our demographic? Who are the people we trying to aim this for? They kind of focus the movie typically on that age range of characters. And so this character is literally in college. She's a woman. And so as you can see, she's kind of troubled because she keeps having this same dream over and over again of this girl that she has no clue who this is and how she's dying. And so, she goes back home. Um, I think she flunks out of school because she's not able to sleep because she's having these dreams. So she goes back home to see her family. She's got issues going on with her because I think her mother left out on her when they were really, really young. Her and her little brother, who she goes and sees and has a back and forth for. And, her brother comes and gets her. And her brother kind of lets her know that he's kind of upset with her because she left. She dipped out on him. She hasn't reached out. And he kind of feels like she kind of, she's mad and she aims a lot of her frustrations at her mom. But her little brother kind of feels like she did the same thing to them by dipping out on them. And she's like, what? But I went to college. It's just like, okay, so when you're in college, that means our communication stops. You know what I'm saying? So, she kind of, the son gives grace to the mother. And I think that's because when the mother dipped out, he was very, very young. And so he don't really have that same bond and understanding with the mom that she did. And so he doesn't really, and I've seen this before where the younger person kind of is willing to forgive a lot faster than the older person of the parent that kind of dipped out on them when they were young. And so, and also there's this woman to woman thing there, you know what I'm saying? He kind of still has his dad, but she don't have a woman there to kind of show her way because she left her. So there's always that whole little thing. And, I think when a lot of women become, or a lot of girls become teens, they typically kind of like become a lot more rebellious and start to clash with their moms. The same way when boys become men, they start to become men when they're teens. They start to clash with their dad and start to think they're a man now. So they start to stand up to their dad more and talk back. And there's this whole confrontation there. And so she's just at that age where even if she did have her mom, they might still have their whole issues. And so just to get into the psyche of our main character. And so her and the brother, they have their little talk in the car back. And all of these things are just getting you to better understand this character and all the stuff that she's dealing with, all the weight that's on her shoulders. She's having these dreams of all these people dying over and over again. Her mom left her when she was young. And so she goes back home to her family. And I believe when she goes back, she starts to talk to her dad. She sees her cousins. Everybody's kind of having like this whole family get together thing going on over here where the families getting together, kind of like a little mini reunion, if you will. I wouldn't say a full family reunion, but maybe just a small get together between some of the closer family members of cousins, brothers and sisters of people in the family, cousins and all them and everybody and her parents. And, her dad is there. And well, as she's going back, she starts asking questions about her great grandmother, her mom's mom. And based on the history, I believe something was off with her great grandmother or her grandmother, and it drove her mother to leave the same way. It drove her to kind of drive to she drove her mom kind of insane, and drove her away. And that was why she left him when she was young. And so because she's young, she doesn't really take the time to maybe talk and try to find out the psyche behind why her mom left him at a young age and what she was going through that caused her to dip out. And so it's understandable. When you're young, you don't really think about all that stuff. You just feel like people do you wrong, so you lash back. You know what I'm saying? You just show back emotion. And that's just normal. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with our character. She's not perfect. She's flawed. And she's just growing. And so she goes home and she asks questions about her grandma. She tries to get old pictures of her, and she does. And that's when she realizes the person that she been seeing is her grandma in this premonition. But she doesn't understand why she's seeing that because her grandma's alive. And so she goes, she digs deeper, and then she goes to see her grandma. She drives way out to find her grandma out somewhere long and lost in this cabin out in the middle of the woods. And when she pulls up, when she first gets there, she notices that the cabin or wherever this place she's staying in, it looks kind of weird. Like it's like all types of different things going on here, contraptions and things outside. And so, and she goes, I think she knocks on the door. There's a camera that sees her, and she gets let in. And her grandma is this weird character that just is kind of paranoid about everything. And it's like, she's like, what is going on? She's like, what is going on? My grandma is crazy. That's the mentality I think that she grasps through her first impression of her grandma, because she's in there just talking fast, talking crazy. She's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? I've been evading it for years. I've been doing good. And she's like, what the heck? She's like, hey, I need your help. Like, what's going on here? And then, she has to talk with her about the dream. And she tells her that same dream, it explains to her kind of briefly what's going on. That a long time ago, she had a premonition that all of that happened to her and her family, and death has been trying to get her ever since. And she tells her because she survived it, that her and the black she started noticing after she had that premonition. She went up there. She tells a story about how she stopped all of those people from dying in that glass the way she saw it in her premonition. And when she stopped everybody from having that glass, all of those same people died in the order that they died in her premonition later on. Everybody but her and the black kid that you saw that died at the very end of the whole thing. And so immediately now this girl is like, okay, my grandma's crazy. She don't believe her right off back. She's like, okay, this woman is tripping. What the heck is she talking about? I need to get on up out of here now. So now she tells her grandma, I got to leave. And this is just my interpretation of how the character's thinking based on her actions. And so the grandma's like, no, wait. You know what I'm saying? And then she starts like trying to tell her like, hey, you need to protect yourself. I think she even gives her like this book with all these drawings in it and all this stuff. And so her and her grandma go outside and they have this final exchange. And my understanding of what's going on here is as simple as this. Basically, death has been trying to get this woman for so long. The only way she could get to draw her out, to kill her, was to start causing those dreams on the granddaughter. Now, I don't know if the mom had those same dreams, but I think that it's safe to say that it's possible that she might have had those same dreams, and they might have tried to use the daughter originally. And that's probably why the daughter dipped out, because she was freaking out and didn't know how to handle it. But she didn't go to the source to figure out what was going on, and the granddaughter did this time, and that explains why the mom dipped out on them at such a young age. I believe she was having those same visions, and maybe she just ignored them and dipped out. They never really explain if that happened in the movie, but I think that's a strong possibility on why she dipped out. That, and also being raised by a mom that's kind of like paranoid about dying all the time, that can kind of freak out anybody and turn anybody into what the type of mom she ended up being, a mom that dipped out. So it all kind of parallels, and it makes sense. The psyche of these characters and why they did the things they did, because outside of these characters could have been normal people just raising their families, but they're dealing with death, and death does not play around. You do not fuck with death, because death will fuck with you. And I don't know if that's the exact quote. I just made that up, but there's a quote in the first Final Destination movie that's delivered by a very well-known horror legend, by the way, R.I.P., because he passed some years ago. But the guy who played Candyman, man, when I tell you this dude was such a great horror villain, not only does he look really creepy and dark, he played Candyman, but he has the voice. When he delivered that line, because I believe he works in he works as a mortician, so he's constantly dealing with dead bodies, which automatically makes this nigga creepy right off back. But he has the creepy voice there. And I remember when I seen the trailer, I was like, damn, is this the villain? Like, who is this dude? Because he's so dark and creepy. He is a great freaking villain. Or just a great horror actor. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like the guy who played Freddy Krueger. These guys are just really great horror actors. They were built to do horror. They have a look about them that's terrifying, and they have the voice, and they're just good actors. So anyway, so back to our story. Our main protagonist is having a conversation with her grandma outside the house, and she steps out, and something comes out and basically chops off her grandmother's head, and she dies right there in front of her. And this is terrifying. Oh my gosh. I sat down, I thought about this movie, and I was like, these people have never seen death like this. I was like, how are they able to like, I don't think this woman has a moment to process that her grandma, which she didn't really know, but still, just watching another person die in front of you like that can terrify and mess you up in the head. But you got to remember, this girl doesn't really have time to process her emotions. First of all, she doesn't believe her, but I believe when her grandma dies right there outside the house, it kind of sort of confirms a little bit that maybe what she's telling her the truth, because it was a complete freak accident. Like, there's no way that right when she shows up, all of a sudden now she just dies, and she already told her death was chasing after her. So it will make a believer out of anybody that possibly wouldn't believe that. Even if you try not to believe it, you had no choice to maybe try to see if there's some credence to this, because now death is coming for you. And that's a very, very dangerous thing to be dealing with when death is coming for your ass. So anyway, our main protagonist, she gets out of there. I don't even know if they show her drive. Like, I think they cut immediately next to her family having like kind of like a nice little barbecue out in the backyard, a little shindig. They're having a good time, good music, good food on the grill, people jumping on the trampoline. Like, everybody's having a good time, man. It's good vibes. I'm looking at this thing like, man, me and my family need to get together like this, the way these people are having a good time. But anyway, so I see all this. I think it's pretty dope that they're having a good time and all this. But as you see this good time getting together, you're also seeing little ways that people can die. That little thing I tell you where they show this little screw here and this little here there. You see this chopper here and this there and this there. Like little things are about to kill certain people at little moments, and certain things stop it from happening. And this is a constant thing that is done in classic form in this Final Destination movie. And so the little subtle little nuances that happen show uh that death is creeping around that corner. And so I believe the daughter is heading back, and she's kind of freaked out, but she's heading back. And I believe at this little family get together, the mom shows up. And so, wow. So the mom comes back. She looks a little, you know what I'm saying, a little bit messed up. But, you know, I guess one of the family members were able to convince her to show up and kind of, you know, show up now. And you know what I'm impressed by? That all of these family members are very open and accepting her coming back. You know, you would think maybe even the husband, you know, he would feel some type of way. The father, like, where you been? You left our kids out with no mom. Like, no, but actually he was pretty cool. I was really, really shocked at how cool the family were. Cause I mean, I'm just so used to seeing the opposite of that. Like when somebody disappears or everybody's upset, angry, kind of kills the mood. But they were actually welcoming into her. They just brought her back in. And I just thought that was kind of a cool way to accept her back. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think they could really imagine what was going on with her, but I'm pretty sure they just thought mentally she was just kind of messed up, and they know deep down it's not her fault. Maybe or maybe they know that deep down it's just the way her mother raised her and how she was treated that caused her that way. They kind of have some understanding, so that's probably why they give her some grace. It wasn't like she just dipped off and was doing drugs, got hooked on drugs, or was just selfish and just was like, F y'all, I don't want to be a mom. I just want to live my life. I don't got time to be worried about no kids. It wasn't like that. She was just kind of messed up in head on the way she was raised. And so I guess they gave her some grace. And so it was a beautiful thing to see, actually. And so anyway, you know, the mom shows up. I believe the daughter gets back now. And, you know, things are kind of crazy, but everybody's having a good time. They trying to get her to unwind. Everybody's drinking. They barbecuing. Things are going well. And then, you know, finally something happens to where a whole trap goes over. And then next thing you know, this guy falls back and his head just gets the lawnmower rips into this dude's head and is tearing his body up like in the lawnmower in this scene. When I tell you this is insane, this is twisted, terrifying. Like, man, you're like, what the like if you think the grandma's death it was bad in front of his granddaughter, man, the whole family just watched this dude get ate up in a freaking lawnmower. This is insane. So when I see this, I'm like, immediately, I'm like, oh my God. I'm just like, yo, this is really, really good because like, man. And so I just thought that these deaths right off the back, these first couple of deaths were really good deaths. Very, very good deaths, very bloody, very, very twisted, entertaining deaths. So kudos to them for these deaths. And so at this point now, the daughter sits them down. She ain't got no choice but to believe it. If it was ever in question that the grandma was lying, after seeing her grandma and now this person's head getting torn up into a dang, a freaking, after seeing a person's head in a lawnmower, I think you got some conviction now that grandma was telling the truth. I don't think you can question death anymore at this point. I think this is Final Destination, baby. Death is on your ass. So yes. So she sits the whole family down and tells them that death is coming for all the bloodlines. And there it is. That's why this movie is called Bloodlines. And now I have some clear understanding of where this is coming from. Now, this does put a little twist of something we've never seen before. We've never seen somebody survive and long enough to create bloodlines that now are not supposed to exist. And now death is now taking out the grandma. It's coming for all of them. And so I believe next what ends up happening is she sits them all down and she tells him what grandma tells him, tells him death is coming for him. Of course, most of them, a lot of them don't believe it, but you have a small select few that is like, well, maybe this could be true. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how can you explain grandma dying and now lawnmower death? You can't really explain that. And so they have no choice, but some of them have no choice but maybe to believe that this is a possibility, even though this is something that's just not normal. And so, you know, she's been having these dreams. She breaks it all down for them. And so I think they kind of split up. They all kind of split up and go their own separate ways, but all the kids kind of go together. They kind of band together because they're trying to protect. They're actually trying to protect each other. Actually, no. At first, that's not what happens. At first, they just kind of split up because they don't believe her right away. They don't. They kind of split up and go their own ways. But she's convinced, and she's trying to help them and explain things to them, but they're not getting it. So the oldest person, they show a scene where he goes to get I'm not sure if it's a tattoo or a piercing or something. And in this scene, it's pretty clear that it looks like he is about to die. They start showing those little things that start turning to show that he's about to die. But in actuality, nothing happens to him. He survives. And so you're like, wait, what? Why is he dead? I'm confused. We don't know what the hell is going on. And so then the next thing that happens is they're on a truck. Something's going on where the daughter, who I think is the next oldest, she is in a truck. And so this is also something I forgot to mention. She explains to them the order they're supposed to die in based on the oldest to the youngest, like who's next and what order they're supposed to die in, because they're all part of that set bloodline. And so what ends up happening next is the next oldest, underneath the guy that we saw that you thought was going to die, she ends up dying in a very terrifying, disturbing freaking way, man. When I tell you these deaths were awesome, they were subtle, they were creative, very well thought out and well planned. I got to give it to them with the Final Destination. They did a good job with these deaths. Yeah, so anyway, so after the sister dies, now everybody now believes it. So now they sit back down and have another talk. And that's when it's revealed that the oldest son that we thought was going to die, the reason why he didn't die, because she had a child out of wedlock. And so now we understand now that the oldest son is not actually, then when he finds out who his father is, it's kind of a comical moment because he's like, what? My dad is this guy? And so he's kind of disappointed in who his dad is. It's kind of funny when he finds out who his dad is. It's kind of funny. And that's one thing about Final Destination. It's always done a good job at mixing comedy and like horror, terrifying deaths and horror mixing and intertwining with each other. A lot of times the way people die is what makes it kind of entertaining. It's kind of funny. And so anyway, once the sister dies, and they meet up, they finally have a talk. Now everybody believes her. And they kind of split up. And all the young people kind of go together. And I think that they go to talk with the kid, the black kid who almost died, who almost like fell off the glass thing with the grandma. And so I can't remember exactly who died first. Well, no, I'm assuming it had to be the little girl, because if it wasn't, they would have killed him first. So like it obviously didn't skip him. He must have been the last person to die. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. So clearly she died first. So once it's cleared up their family line, it'll be coming for him next. But anyway, so basically they go to see him, and guess who it is? It's the mortician I told y'all about earlier that was in the first Final Destination. This dude is in a lot of the Final Destinations. I don't know if he's in all of them. He might be, but I know for a fact he's in a good bit of these Final Destination movies. He kind of makes a little cameo. He's probably the only, character that lives to be in all these different movies as the mortician. So they go have a conversation with him because he's the grandma told his granddaughter about her. And they go talk to him to try to see if she maybe told them some way to help them figure out how to evade death. And when they go talk to him and tell him, hey, the grandma died, and they talk about how they had that close little knit relationship, and how appreciative he was for keeping herself alive all this time so he could stay alive. But once they tell him that she's dead, he's like, look, ain't nothing you can do. When death is calling your name, that's it. So he starts preparing. He basically talking like he preparing to go ahead out. He's like, I'm just going to go ahead and live the rest of my life that I got left, because it ain't much left, clearly. And so his scene is a little funny. I'm not going to lie. He was kind of funny in the first Destination. Even though it was dark and creepy, it was kind of hilarious, actually. I kind of laughed at him. And so I thought he was funny personally. But he's such a good actor. You know what I'm saying? In this scene, he was great. And so rest in peace to him, man, because he did pass. So, you know what I'm saying? So rest in peace. And so anyway, he doesn't really, he does give them something though. He says that the only way that they can maybe beat death is if somehow they find a way to kill the next person that's supposed to die and bring them back to life. So yeah, I think that he said somebody might have escaped death a long time ago that way. And so I thought that was a really cool, really dope thing. And that makes sense. I mean, they have certain medicine that can slow your heart rate down to where you can almost die. And then they have a way to give you kind of adrenaline to bring you back to life. You know what I'm saying? I've learned about this certain thing watching past movies. You can learn a lot from movies, by the way, because a lot of it is based in reality, medicine and certain things you can learn. So anyway, we have a hospital scene after this where now two of the brothers go off because one of the brothers is next. The other one, he's not even on the list because he ain't even related. He was mad about his dad. So he go off and he tells him, hey, man, we going to find a way to kill you so we can save everybody else, and we're going to bring you back. This should just sound stupid right off the back. It's like, bro, y'all don't know shit about medicine. Y'all don't know what y'all doing, and y'all gonna go off on y'all own plan. It just sounded, the moment I saw this, I was like, these niggas finna die. That's all I was thinking. So anyway, they go off, and here we go. You know what I'm saying? Oh, also, remember that line I said earlier about fucking with death or it fucks with you? Well, he lets them know not to fuck with death, because when you fuck with death, it's gonna fuck with you. He warns them just like he warned the people in the first Final Destination movie. But do these motherfuckers listen? Do they listen to this advice? Of course not. They're not, because they're young and dumb. Now, I might say the girls might have listened, but the boys definitely didn't. We stubborn, hard-headed. Hey, man, we men. We gonna do what we gonna do. We boys, we gonna do whatever we gonna do when you were boys. You know what I'm saying? We make mistakes. But anyway, they went off on their own. They go over, and now they go into this X-ray machine, and he has this plan of killing him and then bringing him back to life. He's going to try to shock him and bring him back to life. But as this scene is being set up, you see things slowly coming into place in this scene that kind of show you, like, man, and this is the one thing I got to give to these Final Destination people. They'll show you all these little hints of things happening, but they won't, even with all the things they show you, you don't exactly see the death coming. Like, you don't know how they're going to kill you. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll make you think they'll die a certain way, and then another way they'll die. And I always loved that about Final Destination. That's kind of one of the things, because they catch you off guard, even though they show you that somebody's going to die. And the way to catch you off guard is you not knowing how they're going to die and how terrifying it's going to look. And so this scene is a perfect example of that, because somehow, some way, they end up turning on the machine that they use to run MRIs on people. When you lay back in that little machine and you go in there and they're trying to read your brain activity to see what's wrong with you. Well, guess what? This machine gets turned on. The oldest kid, he has all types of piercings, and you're not supposed to wear piercings when that machine comes on because it's electromagnetic and it will connect anything metal to it. And so it's pulling ear piercings, all his piercings out of his skin into the thing, pulling him into it. Man, these two die in one of the most terrifying, gruesome ways on Final Destination. Man, when I tell you, these deaths are partly what make this movie what it is. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for these deaths, man, this movie, man. So anyway, they have a very terrifying death. And man, it's crazy. I believe that at a certain point, they're frying, like they cooking like fried chicken in the dang MRI machine, man. Burnt, extra crispy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy. But anyway, so they both die. And now it's like nighttime, and you only got a few people left in this thing now. You know what I'm saying? You got the little brother, you got our main protagonist, and you got the mom. And so I believe that they steal like a emergency truck or something. I can't remember what happened. They might have just hopped in their own vehicle, they camper, and just drove off and left. But now they kind of go back to where the grandmama was. I can't remember what was the motive of them going back there. I can't remember why they went back there. Can't remember. But for some strange reason, I remember now. They go back to this place because they realize that grandma was able to survive there for a long time. So they figure if they go back there, maybe they can hide out there and figure out a plan to try to figure out what's the best plan of action. But when they go back there, all hell breaks loose the moment they get back there, all three of them. And we see the mom, we see the son, and we see the daughter all in there, and they have a crazy moment where all of them are in there. And I believe that the mom risked her life to save her kids. And I thought that was a dope way for her to go out, considering the fact that she dipped out on them earlier, that she gave their life for them. That's a great way to give back to your kids, because a mother and a father are supposed to put their lives before their kids. That's probably one of the most saddest things, or one of the most terrifying things, is to watch your kids that you care about, that you love, pass before you pass. No parent wants to see that. And so she gave her life for them. And at certain moments, it looks like the son is going to die and the daughter's going to die. But the mom actually gives her life. She risks her life for them, and she does die. And so she was next to die anyway. She's the oldest of them, and she's the next person on the list to die. And so now I believe at a certain point, one of them actually dies and gets brought back to life. And so they believe now they have stopped the death from chasing after them. So they go back, and I believe the little brother is now graduated from high school, and they're at his graduation. They done stopped death. They're happy. I'm like, man, a good Final Destination happy ending. We almost never get those, man. Everybody always dies. And I'm just like happy to see this finally. And, you know, it's just a good thing to see. And then next thing you know, somehow a train just all of a sudden crashes out of freaking nowhere. The railroads come off, and the thing flips over and just kills the last two characters at the end of the movie. And that's how the movie ends. That's all, folks. And they all die. And so, hey, man, in true Final Destination fashion, they make you think that everybody lives, but everybody dies, just like always. So in conclusion about this movie, man, I did really, really enjoy all the deaths. But I cannot lie, this movie, this plot and everything, I mean, it's not really much of a difference. I mean, the only changing factor is just the Bloodlines thing. But I mean, the actual story and the plot is no different from what we've seen probably a good million times in the Final Destination. So, you know, this movie doesn't really give you much extra except a bunch of entertaining deaths, which are dope to see. I will say the deaths are worth watching this movie for, but you know, honestly, the movie kind of comes out to be kind of mid, to be honest. I mean, it's a pretty decent movie. If this is like your first time watching Final Destination, like of the new generation, I can kind of see them liking this movie a lot more than all of the people of my generation who grew up watching Final Destination. We've seen great deaths before. We've laughed. We've been entertained before. We've seen this before. This is nothing really all that new. It's cool, but it ain't really nothing special really here. It's nothing. They don't really add anything here to kind of give this new movie kind of anything refreshing, but besides a bunch of really, really great deaths. So, with that being said, I probably have to give this movie 3 buckets, 3 popcorn buckets, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I maybe 2.5-ish to 3, somewhere around there. You know what I'm saying? It's mid, it's decent, nothing crazy. You know what I'm saying? The movie wasn't bad by no means. It just didn't really give us nothing special. You know what I'm saying? We've seen this before. You know what I'm saying? So wasn't nothing crazy. But anyway, hey man, I still enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the deaths, and we out of here.